So once again, we have human error and nature error on the homestead, which has led to it sucking.
Long story short, basically what we figured was going to happen happened, and the raccoons destroyed our corn. Positive to this, we are going to salvage the plants, at least feed the stalks. It's far too early to basically chip them up into silage for us because we don't have the quantity. So yes, we can do that in the fall when it's cooler, but we don't have the ability to store it right now, so it'll probably go moldy on us. So we're going to feed it fresh because at least the stalks are still there, but the corn is gone. We've already removed 13 raccoons, so the trapping side of things is definitely in place. We're going to show you, I guess, a little bit of a discussion of why some of the things couldn't be implemented that could have prevented it, i.e. we've had lots of suggestions for electric fences and livestock guardian dogs and this, that, and whatever, but everything takes time, everything takes setup, and if you remember back to videos of this garden when we started, there was absolutely zero weeds in it. Now we planted our squash kind of in a pseudo three sisters, so it didn't have the beans. We planted the squash around the base of it, but it's made it impossible to electric fence this, and did absolutely nothing to deter the raccoons, so that is a bit of a proven myth.
And now there's potential to have lost both crops.
There's a potential to have lost a significant portion of the squash because the raccoons have also trashed that. And we also had the dilemma that for some, with certain properties, you would be able to just have one giant garden that you can mow 10 feet around it and put an electric fence and keep the weeds and everything short at the boundary. But I'm going to say it, we don't have that luxury here, so we have to come up with, the only solution is to electric fence it or stop gardening, or at least gardening in things that are attractive. The big dilemma for us in this property is there are a lot of weeds, and even though this, I mean, you can see the bed here around the
eggplants.
The eggplant. You can see the bed here around the eggplants that it's mulched, but I'm going to say it, it's not solving the issue. In fact, you can see in amongst the peanuts and potatoes there, we've been weeding and weeding and weeding, and we mulched in between the rows, and yeah, we have a weed problem as well. So, like this garden, there's absolutely no way for us at this point in the year to electric fence around this to keep raccoons out without sort of toasting what's in here growing. So essentially, as we're going, we'll look at the corn here in a moment. We're really stuck in a catch-22 this year.
And we should clarify, because yes, we know the art, we know the solutions. It's time. We know the solution is to pull the weeds before they go to seed. And as you just saw in that little scan that Chris did, all the weeds are just about to go to seed, and we're going, and you're in the middle of the busiest season of the year, and it just feels a little bit like, what's the priority? And of course, weed pulling is never the priority. So we're kind of in that kind of battle where you know what you need to do, you just can't seem to get ahead of things enough to get it done.
So on that note too, just something to think about from the theoretical side of this, I suppose, is a human being doesn't subsist off of just one or two food items. Even in the past, there was always multiple food items. And when you need 2,000 pounds, or that's the average of what a North American eats, if you're actually trying to do that yourself, you can basically see the catch-22 you're in, because unfortunately, you're never independent of what goes on around you, i.e. why we have this raccoon problem after 3 years of living here. B, you need to produce a large diversity of different food items. Basically, to do that, it stretches you thin. That's why large commercial operations don't diversify, because it's easier to raise one thing than it is to raise 10 when you start trying to do anything with it. Anyways, it really makes you wonder sometimes, is it really worth it when there's lots of other people in the world that just buy it? Which, there's the catch-22, because some of those solutions and some of that way to look at things, as we've seen in the last 2 years, you can't always just buy it. So then, yeah, you're never independent of what goes on around you. Well, and here's the start of the damage. You can see all that corn that was basically just about ready is gone. But instead of just eating the corn, they've also trashed everything under it. And as I move through, they've really trashed sections. So any squash that was growing in here has basically been obliterated in the process. Now, we still have some, because each one of these rows had squash kind of in between them. So anything that was in between these two rows is gone. But there was some on the outside. So hopefully we'll still get some squash. But I guess this is the dilemma when it comes to certain things, i.e. like corn, is you're going to have significant losses. And so it does kind of go down this line of efficiency of scale. If you're going to have X amount of losses, does it even make sense to fart around with it on a small scale? So the other dilemma with raccoons, and we've had lots of suggestions of just eating the problem and eating the raccoons, and I know that people do eat them in some areas, but my knowledge of raccoons is they have two rather insidious parasites that unfortunately everything they've touched gets covered with. So we're not going to feed the cobs. I mean, the chickens could eat it because they're not a host to the worms, but if you're a mammal, and my understanding is the raccoon roundworm and can survive a lot of different environmental conditions. Essentially, the raccoon roundworm lays so many eggs that the raccoons are just covered in it, all their fur, everything. So as far as I'm aware, there's no safe way to process them. And I know people eat them, and maybe they don't have it in some areas, but in Ontario, they do. And you do not want those things migrating through your body and insisting in your spinal cord or your brain, which the more of them you ingest, the more of them you're likely to have happen.
There goes all our beautiful corn. But the horses and the sheep will enjoy munching on this for the next little bit.
So we're going to clean up this area and hopefully the squash bounces back a bit.
This one's just a little cob, but you know, it's not even ready to harvest yet. We didn't even get a chance. So lucky for us, we actually did plant succession with the corn. So what you're looking at here is actually the last kind of batch that we planted that actually did produce anything. And it's obviously not ripe because the raccoons actually haven't bothered it. So even though it's not ripe, we're taking it out. We're gonna get what we can off of this corn. You can see over here, basically it's gonna be baby corns that I can probably put in stir fry mix, that sort of thing. But at least we'll get something out of this along with the animal feed, and hopefully not give them the satisfaction of coming back tomorrow night and ruining it all again.
So we just wanted to show one of these cobs here that definitely well on their way to being sort of edible, and I mean we can make use of them, but like we said, the raccoons were pulling this down, eating it, destroying it, and it's probably, if I had to guess, at least a week or two away from actually being mature enough, but they were still eating it regardless. You can see it's
not even close.
No, it's pretty immature, so pretty crazy. And one evening
and what did they do? A bite, and realized it wasn't ready and left it.
All right, well, we have a big bare spot of destruction where the corn was once standing. A few lessons out of this, which we're going to discuss in a moment, but we've cut out all the stalks. We have to go back and clean up some of the half-eaten cobs because raccoons are incredibly wasteful, and there's a lot of waste laying there, but we figured it was better to remove the temptation of them to come back, because that might actually give the squash, which you can see survived the cucumber beetles and squash bugs, only to be essentially annihilated by raccoons.
So the outcome is a huge pile. Maybe Chris will go stand by it so we have a concept of the size of the pile of stalks for the livestock. We have a pile of stuff for the compost. This is basically cobs that the raccoons are gummed at, and we are not comfortable feeding that to livestock because all of our livestock will be susceptible to the roundworm.
Except the chickens.
Except for the chickens. And they didn't want anything to do with it, probably because it stinks like raccoon. But we did also keep, like I mentioned, from those 2 rows that were the latest corn planted, I kept the cobs off of them. Unfortunately, nowhere near ripe, as most of this corn was not ripe at all. They just destroyed it all anyways. But hopefully we can get something out of that. Maybe we'll try and husk it in the next few days and see what we get, and just do a little update on Facebook or something like that. But Anyways, hopefully we get something out of that 5-gallon bucket of little tiny cobs. But all in all, the only thing that's eating well out of this is going to be the sheep and horses.
So a few things, I guess, lessons learned and thoughts on this is, one, technically our error. We didn't protect it enough. The lesson learned there is, if you are dependent on your food items, then you need to build Fort Knox, because that's the only way you're keeping something, human, animal, weather, from coming.
If it's not something, it's another thing.
Yeah, it's always something. Interestingly, with this corn, so we were how big was it?
30 by 20 foot.
30 by 20 foot area. So obviously we'd have to ditch the squash growing underneath it, but if we were to have used the same garden area, we would have probably had to come in at least 4 feet on each side with some sort of barrier that keeps the weeds down, so we could actually put an electric fence in here, because there's no practical way to do that around our property, because it's a funny shape and there's a lot of obstacles. So short of bulldozing everything
and spending a lot of money
to do that, there's no simple, quick, snap your fingers solution for that. Going forward, I think corn is off the menu. We talked about this last year, but we decided to keep growing it, because if we did it as a put and take, it potentially can yield you a lot, but it can also yield you nothing. Interestingly, from what we have husked, there was absolutely no corn borer in any of it. So without having a huge reservoir of commercial corn nearby, we had amazing looking corn. On the flip side, as Stephanie said, the raccoons ate this immature. So that probably shows you, A, that they're really hurting for food, but B, we had been watching this, and all of this devastation happened in one night. So the size of a patch you would need if you didn't protect it, you'd need acres and acres and acres, very similar to conventional field corn growing, to just even get something if you didn't protect it with the electric fences, basically. Another lesson learned, the three sisters, or the pseudo three sisters that we tried this year, although the plants did amazing, definitely not something we would do again.
It's not practical for harvesting on a large
because
patch.
Essentially the raccoons have obliterated our corn harvest, but they've significantly set back. We're still going to get some squash, but they've basically decimated our squash bed this year.
So guess who's upset about that?
Well, it just goes to show you that cause and effect, it's never super simple. But yeah, you're basically going back down that line of growing it all separately, so that you don't have, if one thing fails, the other thing doesn't. All in all, very discouraging. I mean, the reason why we grew the corn was, A, we were going to use, obviously, the kernels for various things, but B, had we let this grow longer, we could have used it as silage, so that's gone. We're getting to feed it now, which it's not completely going to a waste, but yeah, definitely starts you thinking that in some ways less diversity may be more, but then how far do you go down that line towards a more conventional system? And I think that's, you can easily say what the solutions are for a given dilemma such as this, but implementing the solutions is not necessarily as simple or straightforward as I think some people would like to think them to be, or hope that they, or wish that they were, because this is still fenced. Obviously raccoons can climb. We also noticed that they were ravenously trying to get into one of our coops last night by the scratch marks and the bends in the mesh, so they still have a bit of a chicken dilemma there, but so far so good, knock on wood. But I think we'll leave it at that.
You should end with the running tally of what these raccoons have done this year.
So they've destroyed, what did you say?
30 by 20 foot patch of corn and squash.
Yep, and
onions.
Well, they've done some damage to the onions. They've just set back a few other vegetables simply by trampling them, and
killed 18 chickens.
18 chickens. So, and our tally is we're losing the war. We're up to 13 raccoons. So they are way ahead. And judging by the damage that was done there last night,
that was more than one raccoon.
That's more than one raccoon. So
stay tuned.
The hoard's going to keep coming, and you'll just have to see what they target next.
Well, at least somebody is, or something, is getting to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Corn is a horse favorite, and since we've taken care of basically the parts that probably could have been contaminated, we feel pretty comfortable that these guys can enjoy this and we don't have to worry.
So one thing that I want to mention again is right now we're having raccoon issues, rather serious raccoon issues, and there's always a human element to it, a human error or human cause and effect. But we were talking about this earlier. I mean, we've had some issues with chickens, corn, and other vegetables. But and so you get to thinking, it's like, oh well, the sheep are pretty awesome because they don't have any issues. But realistically, all it takes is for, and I'm going to say it this way, all it takes is for somebody to shoot the 2 coyotes that are residents here, which have caused no problems, and open the door for new coyotes who might be tempted to, try their luck, and suddenly another endeavor burns and goes down in flames. So this year it's corn, chickens, and some other stuff. Next year it'll be something else, and the year after that it'll be something else. So it kind of, the more you have, the diversity helps you overcome by not putting all your eggs in one basket, but at the same time you're still at the mercy of everything that goes on around you, and it's always going to be something.